Hey guys, so there's big protesting in Kansas City. So Ralph Yarl, a black teenager, 16-year-old honor student, was shot by a white homeowner for ringing the doorbell. Now he was going to pick up his siblings and he drove into the driveway. He thought he was at the right address and he rang the doorbell. Now, the 85-year-old white homeowner opened fire. The door was not open. He opened fire on this teenager. He shot him in the head. He shot him in the arm behind closed doors. But only the grace of God was watching over him, because how many people live to tell the tale of being shot in the head and surviving and was released within a short period of time from the hospital? That's a miracle. So the statement put out by the family was that he was trying to collect his younger twin brothers from a friend's home, and he thought he was at the right address. So here's a picture of a police officer walking past the house where the black high school student was shot. Last week, after his family says he went to the wrong address to pick up his younger siblings. So after days of outrage of the shooting of this black teenager, Ralph Yarl, officials finally charged this 85-year-old man who shot him, and his name is Andrew D. Lester. So on Monday evening, Clay County prosecutor Zachary Thompson identified the shooter as Andrew D. Lester, an 84-year-old white man. Thompson's office filed felony criminal charges of first-degree assault and armed criminal action against Lester. A warrant had been issued for Lester's arrest. He is now in custody. So this was the statement put out by Zachary Thompson, the prosecutor. So this is the statement put out by the chief of police office when Andrew Lester was released initially after the shooting.
On April 13th, just before 10 o'clock p.m., officers were called to a residence where a teen was shot in front of the residence by a homeowner. The teen was transported to a local hospital for his injuries. The homeowner was taken into custody and placed on a 24-hour investigative hold. Detectives and crime scene personnel immediately responded, processed the scene, and recovered the firearm. After consulting with the Clay County Prosecutor's Office, the homeowner was released pending further investigation due to the need to obtain a formal statement from the victim, forensic evidence, and compile additional information for a case file to be presented. A formal statement is planned and forthcoming as the teen's injuries allow. A person can be held up for 24 hours for investigation of a felony, at which time they're required by Missouri law to be charged or released. The vast majority of cases, to include violent crime, involve the suspect being released pending further investigation. In this case, the prosecutor requires more information from investigators that would take more than 24 hours to compile. Throughout the weekend, investigators have worked to gather requested information and details. They have been in touch with the prosecutors. As soon as the case is complete, it will be presented to the Clay County prosecutors for their review.
So Ralph Yarl is a 16-year-old high school junior, and he survived a brutal attack, a shooting, on April 13th. So he was released from the hospital on Sunday. Sunday's date was April the 16th. So that was 3 days after. I'm wondering if he should have been released that soon. 3 days after a gunshot wound to the head and the arm. So now he's recovering at home, according to his father. That was the statement put out by his father to the Kansas City Star. When asked whether he believes the shooting was racially motivated, the prosecutor Thompson said, "Nothing of that nature is clear in the probable cause documents." He said, Yarl and Lester didn't appear to have any interaction before the shooting. So I would think if there was no interaction, then it must have been racially motivated or some racial overtones or undertones, because they did not have any interaction. It's not like if Yarl was yelling and screaming at him or threatening him in any type of way. He just looked at this black teenager and shot him. So it must have been racially motivated. So I don't understand why the prosecutor, Zachary Thompson, was trying to cover up for Lester, the man who shot Ralph Yarl. So on Monday evening, Clay County prosecutor Zachary Thompson identified the shooter as Andrew D. Lester, an 84-year-old white man. Thompson's office filed felony criminal charges of first-degree assault and armed criminal action against Lester. Additionally, a warrant had been issued for the man's arrest. Thompson, the prosecutor, sharing this information during a press conference. So it's only a miracle that this 16-year-old high school student Ralph Yarl survived this shooting that was on April the 13th. So after the public outcry and outrage about this teenager being shot very innocently for ringing this doorbell, officials proceeded to identify Lester as the shooter and proceeded to charge as well as arrest him. But initially, Lester was taken into custody, and shortly after, he was released the next day. And the reason why Lester was released, according to the prosecutor's office, they wanted to question the person who was shot, Ralph Yarl, before they can determine whether or not to take him into custody and charge him for this crime. So the prosecutor Thompson was asked, why wasn't Andrew Lester charged with attempted murder? And prosecutor Thompson said that the possible sentence under assault was more severe. Kansas City Chief of Police Stacey Graves said during a press conference on Sunday evening that after the shooting, the suspect was taken into police custody and placed on a 24-hour investigative hold, but has since been released while police investigate and present evidence to the prosecutor's office. So Andrew Lester was detained for 24 hours and then he was released. He has since been arrested because of public outcry. Ralph, who is a talented musician and aspiring scientist, continues to improve. He is at home, he is responsive, and this is according to his father. He spent 3 nights in a hospital. That in itself is a miracle because remember, he was shot in the head and shot in his arms as he ran to neighbors for help and was turned down 3 times by neighbors. They did not help him. And you just gotta wonder what kind of person would see a bleeding teenager and not help that person. So that was a statement put out by his father. His mother, who is a nurse, took some time off from work to spend with her son. So Ralph went to pick up his younger brothers from a friend's house on April the 13th. According to an April the 14th video posted to TikTok by Ralph's aunt, whose name is Faith Spoonmore. Now she said Ralph did not have his phone to figure out the directions and he pulled into a driveway of the wrong house. The house he was looking for was on the 115th terrace, but he mistakenly went to 115th Street, 1 block over. And she further went on to say a man opened the door, looked Ralph in the eye and said, "Don't ever come back here." As he shot him in the head, as she spoke these words, she was in the brink of tears. So how could the prosecutor, Zachariah Thompson, say that it was not racially motivated when this man uttered the words, "Don't ever come back here"? And Ralph didn't know the man. He had never been there before. According to the aunt, he went to the wrong address. He didn't know this man. They did not know this man. So it was not a man that was familiar to the family or to Ralph. So he was a stranger, essentially. So if he was a stranger and Ralph and the family did not know him, and the man said, "Don't ever come back here," and shot him, then it must have been racially motivated because there was no cause for him to be shot. He wasn't trying to break in the man's house. He did not cuss the man out. He did not know the man. So the prosecutor needs to rethink his stand on this case not being racially motivated. So here's what ABC Reporting News had to say about the story.
Prosecutors in Clay County just now announcing charges against the 85-year-old man who shot him. 16-year-old Ralph Yarl is recovering tonight after being shot in the head. His parents had sent him to pick up his younger brothers at a friend's house on Thursday. They say the homeowner fired through the glass door, and when the young man who had been shot ran for help, he was turned away 3 times at different homes. ABC's Alex Perez leads us off with the breaking news from Kansas City tonight.
Tonight, a homeowner charged in the shooting of 16-year-old Ralph Yarl, who mistakenly went to the wrong home. 85-year-old Andrew Lester charged with 1 count of felony assault in the first degree and 1 count of armed criminal action.
As a result of these charges, a warrant was issued for Mr. Lester's arrest, and bond was set at $200,000.
Folks, this is a very, very low bond. $200,000 is nothing. He can put up his house and be out the next day. So I thought this was too low for the crime.
Police say on Thursday night, the high school junior was supposed to pick up his younger siblings at an address on 115th Terrace, but he accidentally went to a home on 115th Street. His family saying Yarl was shot in the head through a glass door after ringing the doorbell. The teenager then falling to the ground and shot a second time in the arm. Yarl was able to run for help, but his family says he was turned away 3 times by neighbors. Officers arriving to the scene, the teen then transported to a nearby hospital. Over the weekend, protesters taking the streets demanding justice. Justice for Ralph! Yarl's family says he's a gifted musician who wants to study chemical engineering. The family's attorney saying he was released from the hospital on Saturday and is expected to make a full recovery, adding the teen suffered a cracked skull, traumatic brain injury, and post-concussion syndrome. Tonight, his aunt, grateful her loved one survived.
My nephew is alive, and he is healing. It is not the story that individual intended for us to tell.
So Lester gave a statement to police, and he said he had just laid down in bed when he heard the doorbell. So Lester told the police he picked up his gun, a .32 Smith & Wesson 1888 revolver, and went to the front door, which consists of an interior main door and an exterior glass storm door, both of which were locked. So Lester then went on to say that he opened the interior door and he saw the male black young man, approximately 6 feet tall, pulling on the exterior storm door handle. And he stated he believed someone was attempting to break into the house, and shot twice within a few seconds of opening the door. So Lester said it was the last thing he wanted to do, but he was scared to death due to the size of this young man and his own age and his inability to defend himself, he said. So he just shot twice. You know, guys, the old shoot first and then ask questions later. So then the police went to Children's Mercy Hospital on Friday and conducted an informal interview with Ralph. So Ralph, the victim, stated to police that he parked in the driveway, he went to the front door, pressed the doorbell, and waited outside the front door. And then he said the man inside took a long time to answer the door, but finally opened the door, holding a firearm, and then he was immediately shot in the head and fell to the ground. So Ralph told the police officers that he got up and he started to run away to keep from being shot again. He further told the police officers, the man said, "Don't ever come around here." So we don't know if the man said it, the man being Andrew Lester. We don't know if he said it when he was on the ground after shooting him, before he shot him, or when he was running away after he was shot. So then Ralph said to the police officers he went to multiple residents to ask for help and just to tell people to call the police. But he was finally helped when he went to the fourth house, because the first three people that he went to asking for help did not help him. According to his aunt, he went to three people and they did not help him. So that was ABC giving us more information about this shooting and attempted murder. So YouTubers, what a story. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine going to a house that you thought it was the right address? You're there to pick up your younger brothers, and you ring the doorbell and you're shot twice. You run to neighbors. 3 times you were turned away. You're bleeding. These neighbors see you bleeding and they turn you away 3 times. Oh my goodness. It is so heart-wrenching that people can be so cruel in today's society. So guys, this is just an observation. Now the shooter, Lester, said that Ralph was scary looking. He was 6 feet and he was scared for his life. Now we look at Ralph. He's a little guy. He is just a little teenager. He's no more than maybe 5'6". I'm going to put him at 5'6". And he's probably under, look how skinny he is. So he could not have been threatening. And if he was threatening, why didn't Lester call the police? If I know somebody's outside my door and I'm scared, I'm not opening the first door to shoot. I'm calling the police. I'm not going to open the door to shoot at an individual that I'm scared of. I'm indoors. I'm in the safety of my home. I'm calling the cops. As backup, I may hold the pistol and just wait for the person to enter, but I'm not going to open the door, to shoot at that person, because they may disarm me. So, Lester's story does not make sense. It's not holding up. And if it doesn't make sense, something ain't clean in the buttermilk, honey. Something ain't clean in the buttermilk. YouTubers, drop your comments. Let me know what you think and feel about this story. Over and out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. When you come on the channel, that's the first thing you should be doing. You hit the like and you hit the subscribe, because you keep coming back for content to view, but you're not supporting the channel by hitting that subscribe button. And really, it doesn't cost you a thing to hit subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.